You see, naturally, we as people, we don't like being uncomfortable. Naturally, as people, we like being comfortable. We don't like feeling vulnerable. We don't like those emotions and those feelings of being out of control a lot of times. We like trying to control things about our feelings and our emotions. And so what happens is you see real change, those things that you're battling, those things that you know you're not satisfied about your life, the social, the emotional level, your career choices, your attitudes, whatever it is, those things that you know you want to change, you cannot change them by staying comfortable. Change can't happen when you're comfortable. See, many of us, our natural tendency is to put our head back into the turtle shell, right? Our natural tendency is not to want to be vulnerable, not to want to talk about it. So even though we know that we need to change some things about our attitude and our work ethic and our habits, we don't like being vulnerable and we don't like being uncomfortable. But it won't be until, if all of you that just raised your hand, and almost every single one of you raised your hand and said, I want to change something about my life, you've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. And what I mean by that is that you have to learn to be accountable to somebody, and you got to learn to be transparent to somebody. Accountability and transparency will change your life. And I know it's not comfortable. I know it's not good having that accountability partner that holds you on your stuff and calls you on your crap when you're making mistakes and when you're making poor choices. I know it doesn't feel good when you're being transparent and you have to talk about these issues like, I know I got an attitude, and I know I'm dealing with anger, or you know what, I know I'm kind of lazy, and you know I kind of procrastinate a lot, and I know I got this, and it doesn't feel good when you own your stuff. For any of us. But I'm promising you, it's at the place of when we're willing to step up and step out and get uncomfortable when we really see changes happening. And for some of us are really struggling, right? Like, does anybody ever go through life and it seems like your default setting is always just to mess up? Your default setting is always chaos and confusion. Does anybody understand what I'm talking about there? Yep, some of us do, absolutely. See, check this out. You see, our normal, for me growing up, my normal was chaos and confusion. My normal was kind of just always messing things up when things were going good. That was my normal. I got used to chaos, confusion, to tumultuous environments. That was my normal. So now, even though I want to change that, when I start to try to follow rules, when I start to try to be accountable, when I start to try to change my attitude, it's really uncomfortable. So it's so much easier just to mess it all up on purpose and get back to my comfort zone. Does that make sense? Listen, guys, I've never talked about this point in school before, and I don't know why I'm here right now and I'm on this point, but I just get led by these talks sometimes. Some of you in here are dealing with some really chaotic and confusing times. And you know that you kind of self-destruct. Does anybody ever self-destruct sometimes? Yep, absolutely. Listen to me. I know that your normal has been growing up in your environment, your culture, your home life. It's been chaotic and it's been tumultuous. Listen, that's not the normal. That's not what it has to be. Maybe at home, maybe here, maybe around, but that doesn't have to be your normal. That doesn't have to be what you satisfy yourself for. But it takes you being uncomfortable. I was just at a juvenile prison dealing with some serious hurting young men and women. And they said, Nathan, I destroy everything. I try to do right. I'm trying to better my life, but I always destroy it. And I said, because you think that chaos is normal. And so when you start to follow rules and when you start to make healthy and good choices, that's uncomfortable. And so you want to go back into your shell, and your shell is chaos. So you intentionally self-destruct what's going on for you. And she started crying. Real change takes us being uncomfortable. You know, let me tell you this funny story, right? I love to run, and I thought I was a pretty good runner. When I was in prison, I ran a lot. I learned to love to run when I was in the Army at 18. I would run. It was one of my most therapeutic things. I love to run. And so when I got out and was in prison, when I got out of prison 5 years ago, I was a runner, man. I just love running still. And I remember the Colts were playing one Sunday like 4 years ago, and I went down to my basement in my sister's house and got on the treadmill and just started running. And by the time the game was over, I had ran like 10 miles, right? And I just ran. I was like, whoa! And I was running. Like right now, I could get out there and I could run like a 5:15 mile right now. I could just go and just do it, right? I love to run. And so I went out to San Diego with my uncle. And I was going to go run. The thing about Indiana, it's flat. The thing about Indiana, it's pretty like low altitude, and so it's easy just to run, right? I was really comfortable, and I thought I was doing okay, right? And so I went out to Cali. I was like, hey, Uncle, I'm going to go run. He's like, all right, cool. I'll see you in like 15 minutes. I said, oh, no, bro. I'll be gone for like an hour. I'm going to go run. He said, okay, we'll see. I get out there, right? I'm on these mountains. Like, he lives on a mountain. Like, I come back in at like 3/4 of a mile. I'm like, hey! You see, I got really comfortable here in Indiana running, and I thought I was doing okay and I was a good runner, but I didn't stretch myself. I should have hit the incline button on my treadmill a little bit more. And so I would confuse myself sometimes of just because I was comfortable that I was okay. Just because I was comfortable, I was successful. Being comfortable can be one of the greatest liars that we have. It can steal you from reaching your full potential. You've got to be willing to get uncomfortable. And I'm going to get off that right now, that talk. But whatever part that was for, man, that self-destructive person, I know it, man. I've been there. Doing what's right doesn't feel normal. So you love to go back to what you've always known, chaos and confusion. Don't listen to that lie, man. Keep staying accountable and transparent. Those two things will change your life.